Hey, just Mark here. All right, so for the last few days, I've seen a lot of videos popping up on my feed talking about looking poor and why it's important. Now, if you've watched any of my videos, you will see that normally I wear a hoodie or a t-shirt or a ball cap, or I don't dress up. I think there's one video where I had a nice shirt on, and that's because I came from a dinner with my family and taking a picture with my 3 sisters. And I got to thinking about it a little bit, and I think why it's important to look poor is that, honestly, who cares? Who cares what you look like? Nobody does. Now, when I'm thinking about it from the perspective of most of these videos, a lot of them talk about it financially. So I got to thinking, and I did a little more, YouTube rabbit hole, and I looked up some wealth stuff and different things. And if you notice, the people who are on YouTube who show off the Lambos, the fancy homes, and all that kind of stuff, the flashy stuff, these younger guys, why? I mean, they're trying to look good. They're trying to make people buy their courses. They're trying to stand out. They want that acceptance. They want people to think they're worth something. And a lot of people hide their own worth in materialistic things. A lot of these people may have a ton of debt. They may have cars that they've rented or homes that they've rented for a video shoot. When I think about people in my general life, I know people who like to have the fancy things and brag about them and show them off all the time. But I know the other side of it. I know the people who are far in debt. I know the people who are struggling. Some of them get these things and then lose their job. I remember back when I worked in banking, I would come across a ton of people who had the big pickup trucks and the quads and the snowmobiles and all that fun stuff, but their debt load was so huge that they could barely afford the payments. And I had to decline loans for them because I could no longer give them money, right? So I am not a wealthy man by any means, but I have slowly been building my wealth over the last year and a half. I've been able to save more money, and I've been able to, afford to actually buy a vehicle because my other vehicle kind of copped out. And I was able to save enough money to cover an emergency vet bill for my dog, who is lying down over there and kind of whining at me a little bit because she's a little sad. But I got to thinking about it a little bit. Even if I hit my targets, like my financial targets, I'm not going to change. I've always been the guy who wears jeans and a hoodie, unless I had to really dress up. I remember wearing a suit to one of my jobs years ago, but it was all about perception and what people wanted and how I was told I needed to be seen. I know people who have to have the fanciest outfits or the fanciest table setups or whichever at their home when they're inviting people over. And it's all about how people want to be perceived, right? They want to be perceived as well off, or that they're doing well, or they want to be perceived as people who are happy with their lives. But the truth is, most of these people aren't. And I think about it from this perspective. I'm a happy guy. I don't have a lot of fancy things. I look poor by choice. I've always worn hoodies. I remember years ago picking up somebody and I wore track pants and a hoodie, and they were like, dude, what the heck? And I'm like, well, I just worked a graveyard shift. The point is that as you're building wealth, or as you are accumulating things, it's important to not show off. You can attract the wrong people. You can draw too much attention to yourself as a person, and don't show off something you haven't really earned. Maybe I'm being a little hypocritical because I got a car and I was excited. I rarely post things I'm excited about on Facebook. And I did. I shared that, but that's because I could finally afford one. I earned it. And that's the point here. I earned it. People don't see what you are doing behind the scenes to be able to afford the things that you have. I remember watching a video by Gabe Built. He had said that if he got, I think it was 100,000 subscribers, maybe it was 200, I'd have to double check, but then he would buy himself a Tesla. The trick is he earned that money to buy that vehicle. I know other YouTubers who are in the same situation like myself. They were saving to buy a home, and finally they did it. But what people don't see is the hustle behind that item or that purchase. And it's not about keeping up with the Joneses, it's about earning it. Now, I also know a lot of people who think that they've got to keep up with their neighbor or their family member or their friend. I knew people very well who always had to have the best of the best, to the point where their other family members would always ask about getting the best of the best, not knowing what was entailed behind it. And I think some of the wealthiest people I know wear jeans, wear a t-shirt, don't wear anything flashy. They give more than they get, and they are very good to other people. And I think about that a lot because I've got a very prime example in my life, and I'm not going to name who it is, but that person is a wealthy individual, and they are probably one of the most giving and caring human beings I know. And they give more, they give out a lot, they expect nothing in return, and it's amazing. It's amazing to watch. I talk about the things that, or I don't talk, I should say, about the things that I do that aren't financially related, that help out other people. But what's the point in keeping up with the Joneses or buying the new things or trying to just look and give a perception of something you're not? Some people say fake it till you make it, dress nice to feel confident. I actually feel confident when I wear a hoodie and jeans and a t-shirt. And so, yeah, I think the term looking poor isn't great. I think it's more of dress where you're comfortable, or be where you're comfortable, or don't get flashy, because I'm not a flashy guy. I never have been. And I think about that a lot because as I'm starting to build my wealth up over the last year and a half and going forward, I don't go around and brag about it. Maybe I'll talk about something I got lucky with, like my car accident where my car that I was about to sell got hit and there was insurance payout. But I don't go around bragging to every single person I know about the things I have. And if someone ever asks, I'll be like, oh yeah, well, it took me, 2 years, 3 years to save. I always go by the mantra of, because I got myself out of a lot of debt when I was younger. So I always go by the mantra of, if I can't afford it, I need to save for it. I bought a new Mac laptop, but it took me 2 years to save that money. But I didn't go and brag about it to anybody. In fact, almost nobody knows, except for the YouTube world, that I have it. And that's because I didn't need to show it off. I was proud that I bought it, but nobody would have seen the hard work I put behind getting that and saving for that. And I think that's where people go wrong. They think that people just have all this money. Think about some of the people in your own lives, or look online and see all these people who show off flashy things. You don't know what they did to get there. And some people legitimately got there. Others are so far in the red that they're hoping and praying that perception will make them feel confident enough, or hoping that perception will make people like them. I'm at a stage in my life where if you like me, great. If you don't, you don't. Oh well. But those are just kind of my thoughts tonight. I love my hoodies. I've got a collection of them, and I definitely have no issue showing them off and wearing them every day. I even have like regular comfy jackets. Most clothes I've had for a decade. So yeah, anyways, I'd love to hear your comments, your thoughts. Please, I would love to get some feedback. I'm enjoying commenting and getting in touch with the community. So I look forward to hearing from you, and I will see you all on the next one. Cheers.